From whom did you purchase these two dogs that you had? One Ghost that was 1.5 years old. I assume that that's a male.
Yes. He was purchased from a breeder in Pontiac, Michigan.
When he was a puppy?
Yes.
And the second dog that you got was a female, and you intended, I assume, to breed those two dogs.
Yes.
And that was a 13-week-old French Bulldog.
Correct.
That you got from where?
From a local breeder who's been breeding Frenchies for 30 years in my city, Muskegon, Michigan.
This is what you complain. I'm reading it. I'm sort of wide-eyed reading it. You got two dogs. The puppy you got in February. You let the dogs out to use a potty break. The property that you let them out on is not fenced. The puppy was 13 weeks old. You let a 13-week-old puppy out with a dog that was probably used to going in and out. You let that 13-week-old puppy out alone. And you claim that the defendant stole the puppy. That's your claim.
Yes.
So my first question to you is, why in the world would you let a 13-week-old puppy out in an unfenced area? Why? What were you thinking?
I was just letting her out to use the bathroom. This is something that I normally do.
No, you don't. You just got this puppy. She was 13 weeks old.
Well, I've had the 13-month-old dog for over a year.
Well, that I understand. I mean, that's also foolish. But I understand if you've had the dog for over a year and you've trained the dog to come home, that it knows where to come, but not the puppy. What were you thinking about? That the older dog would discuss with the younger dog not to run off, but to use potty and then run back into the house? I don't understand what you were thinking. I mean, I've had dogs all my life. 13-week-old puppies, they don't know where they're going. Anyway, you let the dog out on what date?
February the 27th.
What time?
Around 2 o'clock.
And what time did you realize that the little girl was missing?
Not even 15 minutes later.
So what did you do?
I quickly put on my shoes and I started walking down the street calling the dog's name.
And?
I didn't see him.
And?
I see a neighbor who's behind an abandoned house that's on the corner, and I asked him had he seen my puppy.
You cannot tell me what anybody said to you.
Okay, so I'm just asking around. They started telling me.
You can't tell me what anybody told you, madam. Okay. Is this a witness who saw something, or is this just somebody here to keep you company while you're here?
She's a witness.
Tell me your name.
Lana Carson.
Ms. Carson, do you live on the same block?
I do not.
What are you a witness to?
I'm an animal control officer for our county. That afternoon on the 27th, I was scheduled for various welfare checks for animals. One of the calls that I had to go by the area. So as I was coming down the road, on the left-hand side, there was a house that must have had a recent fire or something. And there were several people that were standing out in the house. So it caught my attention. Right where that house was on the corner, we had to make a left-hand turn to get to the address that we were going to.
Not her address?
Not her address. My call was unrelated. As I came around the corner, there were two French Bulldogs that were in this front yard. One was like a tan and white. It was an older, bigger dog. And then the other one was a small tan puppy. Two dogs were running loose, so it, of course, caught my attention. I am the dog catcher. So as the dogs were in this yard, I just kind of kept an eye on.
Because there were no fences there.
In this particular yard, there was a fence, but there was an opening. And there was a lady that was in the yard, and she bent down and picked up the small tan puppy and was holding the puppy, but the other dog, the bigger dog, got through a hole that was in the fence. It was an open gate. So I immediately rolled down the window and said, "Do you need help with this? Do you want me to grab the dog?" And the gal who was holding the tan puppy said, "No, he's got it." And I said, okay. Now, at this time, I'm in an unmarked vehicle because we were on welfare checks.
When she said, "No, he's got it," did you see any male there?
There was a male that was standing in the driveway of this house. So I did see somebody. And so when she said, "No, he's got it," I was assuming it was the gentleman because I did see somebody in that driveway. She was still holding the tan puppy. The adult dog then ran another house down. I'm like, okay, I didn't see anybody coming around the corner. She was standing there holding that tan puppy. I asked again, "Are you sure you don't want me to grab this dog?" And she once again said, "No, he's got it." Then I started getting a little, frustrated because this dog is still making its way down the block.
Down the block, untethered?
Untethered.
And unaccompanied.
Correct. So another house down, the dog kind of jettied back behind a yellow house. And one last time, because I made a comment to my coworker who was riding with me that day, I said, well, chances are we're going to be getting a call for a lost Frenchie that day. So at that time, when I saw the dog go behind this house, again, I hollered back. I said, that dog is down here. And then that was it. So we went on to our call. She was still standing there with the tan puppy.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
Well, I know we're probably going to be about to hear this lady's perspective and testimony on this case, but there's something about her that's kind of giving me that maybe she was an innocent bystander in this situation and it is getting tied up in it. Because if I was walking down the street or was just outside my house or something and I saw this baby puppy just out, I'd probably pick it up too, or probably be like, what the heck, what's going on with this? Now, when the animal control lady was like, hey, do you want me? And she said, no, he's got it. Now that leads us to a mystery of what exactly did she mean by that? And when I think about it, when I truly think about it, I feel like perhaps maybe she was like, had another accomplice there that was maybe going to grab the other dog. But this is the thing that I know. For whatever reason, I don't get it, guys. Quite frankly, I just don't understand. But French Bulldogs are very, very popular dogs that people really desire and really want, which is kind of strange because those dogs have a lot of health issues because of the way they're being bred, which is like terrible and a horrible thing to do. But they're very expensive and people really want them. And so if you really are in the know of that, then it is very likely that you're going to try to steal them if you see them, because that's a couple grand, if you know what I'm saying. So there's a chance that she could have stole these, and we'll find out.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
That's the defendant.
Yes.
When you got the call that a dog was missing, that was a Frenchie from that area, did you make contact with the plaintiff?
So the same day, Dominique did call in a missing dog. The next day, however, because we did, crazy enough, get a Frenchie in. So our office called Dominique and said, please come down to the shelter. That's our protocol. So we asked people to come down to the shelter. That day I was working actually in office, not out in the field. And so Dominique, when she came into the shelter and said, hey, I got a call, part of our protocol is we ask that the owner gives us a picture of the dog. And so she showed me a picture of the dog.
It wasn't the dog that you
wasn't the dog that
had
was
in the
there.
shelter, but you recognized the dog.
Very much. I said, oh my gosh, this is the dog that I saw yesterday.
How far does the plaintiff live from where you saw the defendant holding the puppy?
About 3 doors down.
Okay, all is now in your court. Let's go. Do you remember her?
What?
Do you remember her?
I remember a lady saying something one time in a white van. If she was the lady in the white van, that's someone did talk to me.
The lady in the white van says that she asked you 3 times. Did I get that?
True.
3 times. Do you need help here? Tell me what you were doing with her dog.
If she seen me, she seen a guy at the
Don't tell me what she saw. She saw you picking up from a front yard. I assume it's yours.
No, not my front yard. It's a house across the street.
So you saw the 2 Frenchies, the big one and the little one, in a yard across the street from you?
Yeah, I seen the...
Shh. And you crossed the street.
Yes.
You crossed the street and picked up the puppy.
They were trying to catch it.
Who was trying to catch it?
2 guys I seen out there. They were trying to catch it. They wasn't by each other at first. It was a small one by the opening, and there was a bigger one. I didn't see that one till later. Like, I seen the small one first. They were trying to catch it. So they like, the dog, like trying to get the dog. So I went across the street. I grabbed the little one. It was like almost by the fence. Okay, so I grabbed the dog. As soon as I picked up the dog, I lifted it up. She said, like, asked the question 1 time. That's it. And she kept going. I never seen her no more. I never held it. She never came back again because it was that fast. I ran right back across the street. I handed the dog off and left.
To who?
It was a guy. It was 2 cars parked on the side. It was a silver car, and I'm not sure what other vehicles right there, but they were both outside the car. And I handed the dog off because they were already out there when I came outside.
You see any 2 men?
I saw a lady with the long black hair, long gray coat. There was a gentleman with a black coat and a black hat. And then there was another woman there.
Another woman? Mm-hmm. When did you first find out, Miss Thomas, that this dog belonged to the plaintiff?
The next day.
Tell me how you found out.
The police officer came and asked me, have I seen these dogs? He was going around house to house. And I said, yes, I seen them yesterday. And I told them I handed it off to a male.
And you didn't say anything to him, didn't have an exchange of conversation?
He said, thank you. I was really trying to get my groceries out the car at the time. And I had a little baby. I went back. My mom was in the house at the time with the baby. That was baby. I didn't ever have no conversation.
This is your mother?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Phillips.
You remember the day that your daughter is talking about, which is February 27th?
Yes.
How do you remember it?
She came back in the house. I asked her, did she need any more help getting the groceries out? Because I was in there watching the baby. And she said, no, she got everything. And then,
So she said, no, I have everything.
yeah, she told me she got all the stuff out the car. And then she wanted to say, she said, these people was out there, I had helped the people get their dog. I thought she was being a good Samaritan. I didn't know this was going to take effect like this. I thought she was just being a good Samaritan, and that was it.
Do you have any dogs?
No,
Does your daughter have any dogs?
no,
Did the two of you live together?
no.
When had you arrived at her house that day?
I know it was in the daytime. It was kind of early when I got over there. I usually go to work, come home.
Not I usually. I want you to tell me what time you got there. You remember everything
okay.
about that day. I
Had
want you.
been probably about 12.
You got there at 12.
About 12.
And what time did she leave for the grocery?
Probably about an hour and a half of me being there. About an hour and a half.
So she left about 1:30.
Probably about 1, because she was back. She didn't get a lot of stuff. Probably about 1.
And what time did she return?
She wasn't gone real long. About 45 minutes probably.
So she was back by 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And what time did you see the defendant with the puppy?
Probably shortly before 2 o'clock.
Miss Carson, you've heard Miss Thomas say that when she came home from grocery shopping, she saw these two dogs across the street. One of them was a small puppy. She went over and picked up the small puppy. She believed that these two men, she said two men, you said you saw a man and a woman, and the dog belonged to them. She turned the puppy over to them. You're an animal control officer. Is anything that you saw on that date inconsistent with what the defendant just told me?
I do know that there was a female there. There was a male. She was already over on the side of the house where the dogs were, and she was picking them up.
Who was picking them up?
I'm sorry, the defendant had picked up the dog.
Puppy.
Yeah, I did not see anybody else trying to get these dogs. She was the only one that was in pursuit of these two dogs, and just picked up the one, and then it was just kind of like, oh no, he's got it, you know. That's why I was kind of, this dog is getting away. There wasn't a lot of, you know, intent on getting that other one. That's why I was following it. So I did not see anybody else that was trying to help get those dogs.
When did the people approach you and say, this is my dog? She didn't see anybody.
They were already out there, and they were trying to get the dogs already. And that's when I came across the street, and then the little one started going that way, and I grabbed it. And I went right back to that corner and handed the dog off. She seen me hand the dog off. When the police asked me, I told them, I said, a white van rolled past and everything. I said, they were there. She was like, did I see Pound Buddies? I said, no. Because she said she was in an all-marked car. I'm thinking maybe that was them, but I'm like, I seen a lady in a white van. That's it. And she seen me hand the dog off, and I went back across the street with the long coat. I walked right. I didn't have no dog in my hand, not even 5 seconds. I picked the dog up and straight handed it off. So how would you dare and ask me 3 times that I need help? You didn't ask me no 3 times, nothing about no help.
So now we're in the situation of the he said, she said, or if we really want to be literal, the she said situation. Now, something tells me that there might be a chance that she actually did take the dog and hand it off to a friend. And she probably knew that these French bulldogs, these puppies, were there and that she was a breeder and was going to take them and hand them off. There's something just not adding up here. I feel like the animal control lady, in my personal opinion, wouldn't lie about the situation. She has no benefit to really lie about it, and there's no reason for her to even make up any sort of story. So something's not adding up here, and I feel like she probably did something vindictively. Now, we're going to hear from the plaintiff here on what she thinks is going on, because I feel like if you knew your dog was missing, then you would go out looking for it. So I'm a little confused. I wonder if these two ladies interact, because there has to be something going on here which makes her believe that the lady here in the red hair is the one who took the dog.
Okay, Miss Rogers, you know how all this could have been avoided?
If I wouldn't have ever let my dogs out unattended.
Right, which you're not supposed to do. Anyway, not the big one, and certainly not the little one. And I'm not prepared to label Miss Thomas a thief based upon what I heard. I'm just not prepared to do that. I think that there could be a scenario where that happened. But even based upon your witness's testimony, I'm not prepared to do that, to label her a thief. So what other evidence do you have to show me that she was a conspirator in waiting for you to let your dogs outside and stealing the puppy?
I'm not saying that she was a conspirator to waiting. I certainly left the opportunity open. I have a big sorry yard. I'm a renter. Me and my landlord have went back and forth many a times.
Has nothing to do with your
And
landlord. It has
about
only to
trying
do
to
with
get
you.
a fence.
It has only to do with you.
I
That's what
understand.
leashes are for.
I understand. And so with that being said, I have a police report.
I'd like to see it.
She says,
Shh. On the 28th of February, Dominic stated that a French Bulldog was stolen from the side yard of her residence. She was told that a taller black male came into the yard and took her dog. She stated that the male subject was wearing a red coat with a white hat. Huh? Who told you that?
that's what I was trying to tell you when the neighbor, and you told me don't mention that. This is the one, the top page is the one that I'm showing you where she admits.
Where she what? Admitted that
That's
she handed the dog off to somebody in a car that she thought was the owner. That's what she's saying. I thought that this was the owner.
She said in the car, but then she just said a few seconds ago that they were standing next to each other, and she gave not in the
He
car.
had been in a silver car.
Yeah.
He had been in a silver car.
Can I also say this, ma'am?
Yeah.
When I came outside with my other dog, Tamela crossed my path, seeing me out there looking ugly and stupid, calling my dog and crying. She walked right past me.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Just
In
didn't.
that gray coat and that long black
never
hair.
was outside.
She's
I don't want you to answer her.
she's so pretty. I didn't think she cared about my dogs, so I didn't say anything. And I'm screaming and yelling. Why, as a good Samaritan, she didn't say, "Hey, it was that same day." She didn't say, "Hey, what are you looking for?" She walked literally past me with my white dog standing next to me, and I had him on a leash at that time, because we were both out looking for a Penelope. She saw me walking and calling my dog. And that's how I knew who she was talking about when I called the pound buddy, because she described
A
the
neighbor
woman in the-
told you, a neighbor told
The
you.
neighbor and-
Shh.
I'm sorry.
A neighbor, I'm just telling you, a neighbor told you that a male took the dog from your yard.
The police did not write the report up right, because just as my witness stated, that the police stated in the first thing that he saw Mela give the witness give the dog to a guy, my witness says she's never seen her give the dog to anybody.
Okay, I am not prepared to say that the defendant stole your dog.
Okay.
I'm prepared to say that you were a very bad caretaker of a 13-week-old puppy.
Okay.
And that you have to bear that burden. There is a slim possibility that the defendant may have been involved in stealing your puppy. I somehow doubt it. The only thing that I know for certain is that you let a 13-week-old puppy out unattended. Forget about the year-and-a-half-old puppy. I would never let my 2-year-old puppy out alone and unattended in an unfenced yard. So those are the consequences that you accept. Even if you have a fenced yard with a 13-week-old puppy, I don't know whether I would let a 13-week-old puppy out. They dig holes. And you also have to be afraid of somebody stealing, because what you said is somebody stole your puppy, right?
I lost my dog, and I was honest about that when I made my police report. And this is why I did leave him out attended, because I work from home, and I only had a 15-minute break. I went to the bathroom and came back out. By the time I got back to my computer desk to get back on after my 15 break, it had only been 20 minutes after, so I was only 5 minutes late after I had already did all the searching and everything. That's why I don't know how come I didn't see.
I don't know either. All you know for sure is that you let a 13-week-old puppy out alone. It's like letting a 6-month-old baby who's just learning to crawl. Go out, let's keep our fingers crossed that you come back. It's not about you, it's about the dog. And I would think twice about breeding dogs, because if you're very busy with your other business, this is not a hobby. Breeding dogs is a skilled art form that people should be educated about. And this is about the third case that I've had involving this adorable breed of dog, French Bulldogs, that everybody thinks now is sort of a sport to raise. It's not a sport.
And that's what I know.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I don't think that I did any wrong by letting my dogs go out to use the bathroom.
I don't steal dogs.
Honestly, these are like my children.
I'm happy with the decision she made.
I made flyers and everything. She saw me calling my dog.
The dogs are running loose.
I actually love animals. I love my dogs.
Why would I steal your dogs?
And I certainly just wouldn't leave her unattended like that for no reason.
So you mean to tell me that you treat your dogs like they're your children, but then you let your child, your 13-week, whatever old child, out unattended into the yard? I'm just a little confused by that. Like, and then you just think, oh, I lost my dog and someone must have stolen it? Like, this doesn't make sense. Now, after hearing the testimonies of everybody, I do believe that the girl in the red hair, I do believe that she was just like, oh, I saw someone looking for these dogs and I thought it was theirs, and so I grabbed them and I handed it over. Like, there's something about this case that seems so strange to me, and the most strange part about it is that she let her dogs out unattended because she had to go to the bathroom for 15 minutes. I'm like, girl, what you doing in the bathroom for 15 minutes? Anyways, y'all, I want to know what you guys think about this. Please let me know in the comments down below whose side you are on for this case, because I feel like there's really only one side to it. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know.